Okay, so you know how we all talk about intuition, but like, what even is it?
Yeah.
Is it just a gut feeling? Like some superpower?
Right.
Or is it something even weirder than that?
Yeah. And this article you send in
Because this article
says it might be something weirder. And the fact that it comes from like a holistic therapist certification program makes it extra intriguing, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like even the therapists are saying, whoa, 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 maybe there's more to this intuition thing than we thought.
Exactly. So the article, it's titled Human Intuition, Unlocking the Power of Precognition.
Mm-hmm.
And it really dives right into some wild ideas.
It really does jumps right into suggesting that our intuition could be us tapping into the future.
Yeah.
And I have to say that really caught my eye because
Yeah.
it challenges the conventional way of thinking about intuition. Totally. Like usually we think of it as our subconscious, just like our
All right.
like a little mental computer sifting through all our past experiences and cues to give us like, oh, this is the conclusion.
Right, like just processing information we don't even realize we're processing.
Yeah. And then this article is like, nope, chucking that out the window.
Out the window.
It's precognition, baby. Like,
Yeah. This John Taylor, the author, he argues that instead of it just being our subconscious, crunching data,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, what if we're actually getting glimpses of our future selves?
Whoa. Okay, so this isn't just your subconscious crunching data. This article is suggesting we might be tapping into something way weirder.
Way weirder.
Actual glimpses of the future.
Yeah.
Come on, how cool is that?
Right. And to try to explain how this is even possible, Taylor brings in this really interesting concept from physics
Okay.
called the Implicate Order.
Okay.
It was developed by David Bohm.
I'm already a little lost, so you're going to have to walk us through this one.
Okay, so imagine the universe is like a giant pond, right?
Okay.
And when you drop a pebble into that pond today, it creates ripples that travel outward.
Right.
So Bohm's saying that those ripples, those connections,
Mhm.
they don't just exist in space, but in time as well.
Wow.
So your brain today is sending out ripples
Mm-hmm.
that your future self can potentially sense.
It's like our brains are sending out these ripples through time, and then our future selves are like, hey, heads up.
Exactly. It's a pretty wild idea, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Okay, but hold on. If we're getting, like, premonitions from our future selves, how come we aren't all winning the lottery and, like, dodging metaphorical pianos left and right?
Right. That's where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
The article says that this model of intuition, it's not really about seeing specific events.
Okay.
It's more about sensing what won't happen.
So it's less like, don't go down that street, a piano's gonna fall on your head, and more like, don't go down that street, something feels off.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that vague feeling of unease or that sudden urge to change your plans,
Right.
Like that's what this theory is trying to explain.
Yeah.
And there's something about that vagueness that makes it almost more believable to me,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like those times you can't quite put your finger on why, but you're just like, nope, something's not right.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an experience like that, listener, where you just felt like something was off and then it turned out you were right? You want to hear your story.
I think what makes those stories so compelling is that they often involve situations with a strong emotional impact.
Okay.
And that's another key factor here. The stronger the emotional impact of a future event,
Mm-hmm.
the stronger those temporal ripples,
Okay.
and the more likely we are to get that intuitive nudge.
So high-stakes situations basically crank up the volume on those precognitive whispers.
Exactly. And it also seems to work best over short time intervals. Like we're talking minutes, hours,
Right.
not necessarily years down the line.
Which makes sense when you think about those, like, close call stories. Like that feeling you get right before a near miss, like swerving to avoid a car that slams on its brakes. And speaking of which, this article talks about all these examples of intuition, like from near misses
Oh, yeah.
to making tough decisions, or even just those aha moments when you solve a problem.
Right. There's even this anecdote about a scientist who had a sudden flash of insight about this complex equation while he was shaving.
See, I always knew those self-care routines were important. But jokes aside, as cool as these stories are,
Yeah.
we do have to remember just because we feel something strongly doesn't automatically mean our future selves sent us a memo.
Right. We have to be careful not to mistake correlation for causation.
Right.
Just because two things happen around the same time doesn't mean one caused the other.
Of course.
There could be lots of other explanations for why we experience intuition. This whole precognition thing is still very much theoretical.
For sure. We're not saying to just like ditch logic and let your gut make all your decisions, but maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
there's something to this idea of like paying attention to those subtle signals.
Those whispers.
Yeah, those whispers from our future selves.
And that's where that critical thinking comes in.
Exactly.
We can explore these possibilities, these fascinating ideas, while also applying a healthy dose of skepticism.
So if we do entertain this idea that we might be able to peek into our own futures even just a little bit, the next question is, can we train our precognitive abilities? Like, can we become intuition ninjas? Intuition ninjas. Love it. So does this article give us like the cheat codes to level up our intuition or what?
Well, it doesn't promise any like foolproof techniques to become psychic or
Yeah.
anything, but it does suggest that some of the things we already associate with well-being might also boost our ability to tap into these subtle signals.
Like what?
Things like mindfulness, emotional awareness, reducing distractions.
Right.
Practices that can help quiet the mind and really tune us into our inner landscape.
Yeah, totally. It's like when they talk about reducing distractions, it really is like trying to hear a whisper at a rock concert.
Exactly.
But for you, when we talk about mindfulness in this context, like tuning into your intuition, what does that actually look like? Is it like meditation or going for a walk? What does that look like for you?
For me, it's really about just finding those pockets of stillness throughout the day,
Right.
whether it's taking a few minutes to meditate or even just like really paying attention to my breath while I'm washing dishes, just creating that space for those subtler signals to kind of emerge from the noise.
That makes sense. It's like giving your intuition the space to actually like speak to you
Right.
instead of constantly like bombarding it with information and stimulation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more we pay attention to those whispers, the article suggests, the more likely we are to like recognize their value
Yeah.
and actually trust our intuition in the future.
Right. It's like any other skill, the more you practice it, the
Right.
better you get. But instead of practicing scales on a piano,
Right.
we're practicing mindfulness and like tuning into those gut feelings.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe with enough practice, we can all become a little more in tune with our intuition, whatever its source may be.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into intuition and precognition,
Yeah.
it seems like we're left with more questions than answers.
Always.
But you know what? Maybe that's okay.
I think so. I think sometimes the most interesting journeys are the ones that leave us wanting to explore more.
Absolutely. So listener, next time you get that gut feeling, that whisper of intuition, take a moment to really tune in.
Yeah.
Does it feel like your subconscious just crunching data, or could it be something more?
Right.
Could it be a glimpse into your own future, a message from your future self? We'll leave you to ponder that. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.